What's up, YouTube? Blaze here, and I'm back with another reaction video. Okay, normally the tone of my voice is usually cheerful, positive, and happy, but the reason why it's like this is it's because we're going to be covering a serious topic. Now, all you guys know about the whole chaos and the fallout after allegations with the VTuber Cinder, but this isn't the first time we had a cautionary tale like this. What I mean by this, as in, there was someone way worse than her, even before Cinder was exposed. For today's reaction, I'm going to be covering Rayma Evanstar's video. Oh, blackmail, sorry about that. Blackmail, lies, manipulation, and uncovering the truth of the most evil VTuber. This is the story. This is the dark, true story of Yakirisu. Here we go.
Is often painted as a vibrant utopia, a haven of colorful avatars and passionate fandoms. But beneath the surface of this digital paradise, shadow lurks. There is a common theme in the VTuber community where personalities are carefully curated and presented online. And while the vast majority of VTubers are genuine and kind, there are those who use their platform to manipulate, exploit, and harm others. Yakirisu, a VTuber who initially seemed charming and approachable, is one such example. Her story, as we'll soon uncover, is a chilling reminder that even in the most vibrant of online communities, darkness can hide in plain sight. In her tireless pursuit of internet stardom, Yaki employed every available means to secure her place among the online elite. However, her journey, as we shall uncover, culminated in the creation of 11 Google Docs, an unprecedented record for the most abhorrent allegations, ranging from manipulation, unsanitariness, verbal abuse, animal abuse, to locking her cats for half days into what she called the gay baby jail. Indeed, Yakirisu, also known as Yaki, is a Lithuanian English-speaking VTuber who made her debut on November 6, 2022. She portrays herself as a land shark with a passion for fishing, minigames, anime, and manga. Originally a cosplayer and also quite a good-looking girl, she gained recognition and began streaming on Twitch and YouTube. Through her captivating content and networking skills, she grew her viewership and established connections within the streaming community. In 2022, she returned to content creation as a PNG tuber and a cosplayer, leveraging her existing network to gain momentum. Her Live 2D VTuber debut garnered significant attention, and she frequently collabed with popular content creators such as AlphaRad. Notably, her YouTube shorts and Pokemon videos achieve impressive viewership, with one short reaching 1 million views and 2 Pokemon videos surpassing 100,000 views. She quickly established a large presence online and eventually reached 100,000 Twitter followers.
Wow.
If Yakirisu kept on this trajectory and nothing went wrong, she was on the path of a brilliant career. If nothing went wrong.
Yeah.
And boy, they did. The first ball dropped with a series of allegations in the form of a Google document written by a fellow cosplayer and VTuber by the name of Aru that would shock the community far and wide. These allegations against Yakirisu stem from a series of harrowing accounts shared by fellow content creators Ultima Shadow X and Fatal. They allege a pattern of abuse, manipulation, and exploitation, a chilling portrait of a seemingly charming individual whose true nature is far more sinister. We first start by uncovering.
Well, if there was a definition of sociopaths in the VTubing scene, this sounds like the perfect definition. Yakirisu sounds like she could be perfect for this.
brings Ultima's story, who has been left deeply scarred by Yaki's abuse. To give a little bit of context, Ultima is a video editor to many high-profile content creators such as Alpharad and even Henya the Genius. Ultima and Yaki, who were friends for years, faced challenges when Yaki's ex left, allegedly struggling financially, and as you'll see throughout this video, this is a common theme with Yaki. She implored Ultima to move in to assist her with her recovery. Ultima, eager to help, agreed and moved in. However, over time, Yaki's behavior towards Ultima became increasingly aggressive. Ultima was subjected to yelling, physical pushing, and constant pressure to pay for various expenses. From cat care, including medical treatment that saved the cat's life while Yaki extended her trip to LA for social gatherings, to a 15-year-old loan for a new house. Yaki relentlessly pushed Ultima to meet her demands. Moreover, she often berated him, yelled at him constantly, making him feel incompetent and verbally abusive whenever he edited YouTube videos for her, such as giving him revision notes saying, "Are you stupid? This is bad. I hate this. I said to do this." Yaki went so far as to restrict his speaking or making any kind of noise while she was streaming, demanding that he whispers to avoid ruining her content. As if he made a single noise, he would suffer her screaming after her live broadcasting session would be over. Additionally, Yaki expected Ultima to pay for gas whenever she used his car for personal needs, a car she was the only one actually using. Make it make sense. This went on for months until Ultima had reached a breaking point, and his depression was at an all-time high, leading him to confide in Fatal, which is a common friend of both Aru and Yaki. In those screenshots, it is clear Ultima is in deep emotional distress as he vents to his friend, claiming he is terrified of what Yaki might do to his career, as she had threatened him multiple times before.
Wow. This is probably going to turn out worse than most true crime rabbit holes I watch on the side.
"I'm afraid," he says. "I am scared she will slander me, ruin my career." Due to her close ties and connections with some of his employers, and to the very real threats saying they would have problems if he ever betrayed her, he was certain that Yaki would not hesitate to flip on him if she ever felt like he stepped out of line. That fear made him terrified of her, and she held that over his head, always. But the most insane claim is that Yaki tried to persuade Ultima to put his name down on a 15-year house loan where she would live with him and her boyfriend. Thankfully, that didn't happen, as Yaki decided she wanted to move somewhere else. This would have essentially left Ultima to be the sole payer of that house and stuck with a 15-year mortgage he couldn't afford on his own. Then the VTuber and cosplayer Aru moves on to detail her own horrendous story of abuse and manipulation she suffered at the hands of Yaki. To give a little bit of context, Fatal and Aru had been friends for over 2 years. They tried dating on and off for over a month and broke up shortly after, but remained close friends and confidants since then. In early January, Yakirisu, aware of Aru's relationship with Fatal, reached out about a light-hearted tweet Aru had made, commenting on Fatal's chat, suggesting she was either a comedic genius or a bitch. Yaki seemed to insinuate that Fatal's chat hated women, and this was her foot in the door to start talking to Aru about her relationship. Yakirisu immediately began to express her dislike for Fatal and his audience. Aru, viewing Yakirisu as a friend, allowed her to vent and shared some of her own frustrations. The conversation continued until Yakirisu suggested they move to a Discord or voice call. This raised Aru's suspicions, but Yakirisu's close friendship with Fatal made her seem trustworthy. During this call, Yakirisu claimed Fatal had cheated on Aru, a claim that Aru, having no reason to doubt her friend, believed. Yaki then went on to allege that Fatal had been speaking very poorly.
Okay, that is so screwed up. I'm also trying to do my best to keep my filter on, because I always have a filter when it comes to YouTube videos. But this might test me. I don't know yet. But wow.
about Aru behind her back for years and that he was actively sabotaging her career. Aru, trusting Yakirisu's judgment, found herself deeply hurt and confused. Yaki urged Aru to sever all ties with Fatal, claiming that her new friends from Alpharad's group were much more supportive and wanted to be friends with Aru anyway. Initially, Aru found this odd, but because she had invited Yakirisu to a VTuber collaboration in the past, she felt it was a way to reciprocate the favor, especially since Yakirisu was aware of Aru's loneliness after learning about Fatal's alleged actions. However, Aru later realized that Yakirisu's intentions were far more sinister. She had been using these claims to manipulate Aru and make her appear foolish in front of these new friends. Yaki had told these creators that Fatal had cheated on Aru and expressed disbelief that Aru still spoke to him. After spending a weekend with Yaki in LA, Aru concluded that Yakirisu's true goal was to humiliate her and tarnish Fatal's reputation. Aru admits to speaking negatively about Fatal at the time, claiming she was angry at him and had been misled by false accusations. However, she insists that her frustrations were shared only with Yakirisu and that she had never badmouthed Fatal to any other creators. Unlike Yaki, who was found to fabricate stories about Fatal, claiming he was receiving explicit photos from other women, mocking Aru in group chats, and constantly undermining her. Fatal was then made aware of these accusations and confirmed that they were either exaggerated or entirely false. It seems Yakirisu resented Fatal for not supporting her streaming career, although he claims he always supported her. Aru believes this an excuse for Yakirisu's attempt to harm Fatal and his associates. Aru's subsequent refusal to cut off Fatal has led to manipulation.
Okay, there's a fine line between supporting and being forced to bend over backwards. And this is just proof.
Behavior from Yakirisu aimed at damaging Aru's relationship and reputation. The situation came to a boiling point during a trip to Los Angeles with a fellow creator called Izzy and Yakirisu. The trip, initially intended as a celebration of Izzy's birthday, quickly turned into a nightmare. The trip began with a seemingly innocent gesture from Aru offering to pay for an Uber to Alpharad's house. But this was later twisted by Yakirisu into an attempt to pry into Alpharad's personal life. They politely declined, she wrote, and I didn't think about it twice. This is important because Yaki later on told her friends that I was weird and kept wanting to get Alpharad's address when this was just me trying to be kind. I feel like I have to include this because she will say in her response that I kept trying to get his address. The trip began with a glimmer of hope. Izzy suggested a group dinner and a trip to Round 1 arcade. Aru, excited for some quality time with her friends, messaged the group chat around 5:30 p.m., only to be met with silence. Yaki was blatantly ignoring me and everyone else was just not responding, Aru recalls. Initially, she chalked it up to her anxiety, but her gut told her something was amiss. Later on that evening, Izzy called with a strange explanation. Our friend Adriana doesn't like new people, so you can just eat something and we'll meet at Round 1 later. Aru knew this wasn't true as Izzy was bringing two other friends who also didn't know Adriana. This was a turning point in Aru's suspicion, and she later learned that she had been uninvited to the dinner because Yakirisu had told Izzy, don't invite her, she's going to make Jacob uncomfortable. Jacob being Alpharad. When Alpharad ended up not going, Yakirisu further insisted, don't invite her, she won't vibe with the friend group. Aru, who had never met any of these people, was left alone in her hotel room feeling confused, rejected, and deeply hurt. The next day, brunch plans were once again disrupted. Later...
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, first off, this is insane. Usually when it comes to VTuber drama, it's pretty much like a I'll just go ahead and say it. This is probably going to be a couple of times when I'm going to let my filter loose. It's usually a shit show because it's pretty much no different than petty high school drama. But this... I imagine it's only gonna get worse from here.
Aru was supposed to meet Izzy and Yakirisu in Little Tokyo, but knowing Yakirisu's dislike for Fatal, whom, as we explained earlier, would often badmouth him, she was obviously worried they wouldn't mesh well. But then Aru notes that Yakirisu's behavior completely changed. She was running up to them and hugging them, constantly talking to them, posting pictures of Fatal on her Twitter, and overall just being very two-faced, to put it at best. Aru repeatedly excused herself during shopping trips, unable to reconcile Yakirisu's public displays of affection with the negative things she was saying about Fatal behind his back. Later that night, Izzy and Yakirisu expressed guilt for not spending enough time with Aru and invited her to their hotel room. Aru agreed, but then the group insisted on stopping by their friend's house first. Aru found herself in a strange home, surrounded by 3 men she didn't know. Minutes later, Izzy announced their Uber had arrived and asked Aru to let her know when she returned to her hotel. They immediately left, leaving Aru alone in the house at 3 a.m. Aru was terrified, her anxiety and PTSD flaring, and felt deeply betrayed. She later learned that Yakirisu had specifically requested that Aru not be in any Ubers with them, explaining why she was constantly expected to travel alone throughout the whole trip. Now on the
Oh, wow. That... With someone that has bad anxiety and PTSD, this is gonna be the worst mix possible. It's already the worst mix possible.
The last day of the trip, the group was supposed to visit the aquarium, but Aru was once again ghosted. Later that night, on her way to Izzy's party, Aru was once again left stranded in Hollywood at 11 p.m. and felt abandoned. She had no idea where she was and was completely terrified. She called Izzy and begged for someone to come and get her. Yakirisu would later put the blame on Aru for this. It was Aru's fault that happened because she put the address in wrong. But Aru insists, I copy and pasted the address I was given. Aru also learned that while she was crying, she later found out Yakirisu had been calling her passive-aggressive for being scared. After nearly 20 minutes of agonizing uncertainty, Aru finally hailed an Uber to the actual location of Izzy's party. Upon arriving, she presented Yakirisu with the birthday gift she had purchased. Still unaware of the extent to which Yakirisu had been orchestrating the bullying she had endured throughout the trip, Aru asked Izzy if her or Alpharad hated her. Izzy said no to both. Izzy then admitted that Yakirisu disliked Aru and spread rumors about her, causing Aru to miss out on most social events. Aru, known for her directness, insisted on confronting Yakirisu despite Izzy's pleas to avoid confrontation. Despite 3 separate sources confirming the same story, Yakirisu denied almost everything. She began to yell at Aru, who threatened to leave if she continued to speak to her that way. Yakirisu then turned her anger towards Izzy, yelling at her until she was shaking and crying and apologizing profusely to Yakirisu. Aru, sensing Izzy's fears, told her to leave and that she would handle the situation. The night ended with Yakirisu claiming that she had only spoken negatively about Aru to Alpharad because he had asked about her, a claim that Alpharad later denied. Anyway, what kind of answer is that? Aru, exhausted and emotionally drained, told Yakirisu, as long as you stop talking bad about me to people, it's water under the bridge. Just please stop doing that and be honest if you don't like me rather than bullying me. Yakirisu responded, Aru, I love you. I would never say anything bad about you. Alpharad, after Yakirisu had badmouthed Izzy to him, acted as a mediator, dismissing the entire situation as a misunderstanding. While Aru was alone in her hotel room, Yakirisu continued her campaign of manipulation, attempting to damage Aru's reputation within the friend group. This pattern of behavior extended beyond Alpharad's circle, as Yakirisu spread rumors to other friends groups, leading to other content creators cutting off contact with Aru or even becoming cold and distant with her. Aru, struggling with the impact of her mental health, ultimately had to disconnect from everything. Following the trip, Alpharad reached out to
Damn. That had to be one of the worst. Man, I feel bad for this Aru girl. Having to go through all this.
Aru expressing regret for the events that had transpired. Aru confronted him about the things she had heard and experienced, sharing the details of Yakirisu's manipulative behavior. While Aru kept names vague to avoid further trouble, she made it clear that she was deeply hurt and felt betrayed by her supposed friends. This pattern continued, culminating in mutual friends revealing that Yakirisu had been telling them that Aru constantly spoke badly about her. She even contacted individuals asking them to share personal details about Aru's life. Aru, feeling deeply hurt, acknowledged that this behavior was not normal and that she shouldn't have been treated so poorly, especially during a supposed fun trips with friends. She was lied, manipulated, and bullied, ultimately requiring therapy to cope with the emotional toll. But the story didn't end here. As often happens on the internet, her tweet longer caused a domino effect, which made many of Yaki's victims also come out to tell their story. Johan, who dated Yaki...
Yeah. Well, the saying goes, once it's on the internet, it's on there forever. So, naturally, there's always going to be a snowball effect when it comes to the worst dramas possible.
Yakirisu from 2017 to 2021 and lived with her from 2018 to 2021 details a pattern of control and abuse that mirrored many of the experiences shared by Ultima. She describes a shift in Yakirisu's behavior as their relationship progressed, becoming increasingly controlling over both Johan's life and finances. Johan claims that Yakirisu, despite not working, became increasingly reliant on her income, pressuring her to pay for shared expenses. In the summer of 2020, she pressured me into purchasing a home with her, something I did not plan on doing as we were not married. Johan was primarily responsible for their finances and was often expected to drive Yakirisu around. As Yakirisu gained popularity, her treatment of Johan worsened. Johan was reduced to a house cleaner, frequently berated and blamed for any problems. Struggling with the constant criticism, Johan began to doubt herself. The situation reached a breaking point when their dog, Pinto, was attacked by Yaki's untrained dog. Johan, burdened by full-time work and college classes, attempted to train the other dog, but Yakirisu did little to help. This led to a breakup, but the abuse didn't stop. The situation escalated when Yakirisu began dating Ruby, one of her Twitch mods. Johan was locked out of the house, physically assaulted, and forced to pay for more expenses. She feared leaving due to her parents' reaction and Yakirisu's threats to prevent her return. The abuse culminated in a attempt on May 12, 2020, after Johan was repeatedly locked out of the house. She was admitted to the emergency department, but the hospital did not detect the sodium nitrite she had ingested. She writes, "I did survive and was released in the morning and told Yaki I just had a..."
Who else was shaking their head Who else would be shaking their head this hard? Man. Now I understand why... Yeah, this is definitely a lot worse than what Cinder did. Because a majority of what Cinder done was based through the internet. This, however, this carries over to real life, which is even worse.
Panic attack, as I feared what she would do if she found out. The abuse continued. I moved out on June 11th. I also took our cat Gil, as Yaki had been physically abusive to him in the past. She had thrown the cat multiple times, locked him in closets multiple times, and generally confined him to a very small room and left me to take care of him completely. Johan expresses remorse.
Yeah. This Yaki girl... textbook sociopath. For sure.
For not speaking out sooner, but ultimately she offers her support to other victims, especially Ultima, and hopes they can find healing and move forward. Then a young video editor by the name of Mahado also came forward with their experience. They detailed that, eager to grow their skills, they accepted a commission from Yakirisu to create a Smash or Pass video featuring Pokemons. The editor, assuming a 10-minute highlight reel was the desired outcome, delivered a 21-minute video edited from a 2-hour VOD 2 weeks later. Yakirisu, however, criticized the work, calling it sloppy and rushed despite the editor's efforts to exceed expectations. Yaki seems disappointed as he skipped several of the Pokemons she had covered. I can only assume this happened because she didn't tell him that she wanted all of them in the video, so obviously, how could he have known? She asked for a partial refund from his already meager pay of $60 as she believed the quality wasn't as expected. This does sound very similar to Ultima's experience as her video editor often being berated.
Yeah.
The editor, feeling gaslight and pressured, opted to refund half of her original payment to protect their mental health, while Yakirisu ends up nonetheless utilizing this video to grow her channel. Our next account comes from one of Yaki's friends, Rodent Blade, aka Jake. Jake had been friends with Yaki for around 2 years from 2019 to early 2021, and Jake would often see Yaki berate and bully most of her close friends, including him. I recall times where she would call me retarded, stupid, and a often in a context that was really unnecessary. This would also apply to other people in the group. She would pick her favorites and actively avoid the rest, but hold power over our group since a lot of us were young and naive. There was even one instance where she claimed one of her friends was a fat loser that no one liked and is only around because everyone feels guilty. Rodent's Blade relationship with his girlfriend ended, leading to a mental breakdown. He admits to contacting his ex, even threatening his own life. His ex confided in Yaki but asked her to keep it private. Yaki, however, betrayed that trust, spreading rumors and isolating Rodent Blade from his friends. She even claimed he faked his suicide attempts. While Yaki denies these allegations, Jake claims he has seen several proof of this. Jake writes, "While attempting to take my life, Yaki would lie to my ex and tried to make me lose all of my friends and connections, which I still don't know why she got so involved in over a private matter. What I did was wrong, but it wasn't her place to be sharing private information like that." Because of the traumatic events he went through and subsequent ostracizing, Jake has had to leave all social media for 2 years out of fear.
I don't blame this guy. I would never blame him for wanting to leave because of this. I would too.
That she would hunt him down, even though his relationship with his own ex had been mended by then. He used to have 2 Twitter accounts, now both deactivated due to being so terrified of Yaki's harassment. Yaki's response was swift and dropped a mere 20 hours after the allegations. She claims to be shocked by Aru's allegations, insisting that the situation is being exaggerated and twisted. This came as a shock to me because many things in this story are maliciously exaggerated, and a majority are just completely untrue. She accuses Aru of taking screenshots out of context, but then provides a massive amount of screenshots herself to prove her point. I've prepared an album of screenshots I feel are essential to understanding my conflict with Aru and Fatal. Directly below this album is another providing 111 screenshots between me and Aru via Twitter, so that nothing can be taken out of context. But honestly, it was just a bunch of information dump without addressing a lot of the concerns raised in the initial Google documents. Yaki's decision...
Basically, it sounds like she was half-baking it. Never do anything's halfway. Otherwise, people will tell that none of it's true.
To release the screenshot was motivated by a desire to expose Aru's true nature. She claims Aru's social climbing behavior made her uncomfortable, but it is obvious her primary objective was to highlight Aru's catty and malicious side, particularly her disparaging remarks about Fatal. While this situation may not portray a pleasant image, the truth is that Yaki had deceived Aru, leading her to believe that Fatal had been unfaithful. Consequently, Aru was understandably upset with Fatal as they shared a moment of commiseration and support. Furthermore, she assigns blame to Fatal, whom she believes attempted to create animosity between her and Aru. Fatal's response to this was to blame both me and Aru and pin us against each other, which you can see me and Aru talk about in the screenshots provided. Aru was the one who came to the conclusion she was cheated on, not me. I simply told her events that had happened. The majority of the conversation happened in Discord voice call, but you can see from the screenshots from the aftermath of that voice call, I felt so legitimately sick and anxious, and I told Ultima, Ruby, and Nick what happened. Ruby and Nick had to comfort me for the rest of the night because I was so distraught about the situation. Furthermore, she denied ever threatening Aru's career or sabotaging her LA trip, presenting screenshots of seemingly friendly conversations. In her statement, Aru claims that we had conversations of her pleading with me to stop sabotaging her career, but this, once again, comes as a shock to me because these conversations never took place. The last few conversations I had with Aru were her asking me when I would be in LA next so we could hang out, and other friendly topics like her asking for advice for what photos to post on Twitter. Here are screenshots of those conversations. I can provide more if needed, though they are just random miscellaneous conversations that show I thought we were on good terms. Problem is, most of the confrontations and important conversations were done either by Discord voice call due to Yaki's request or face-to-face. She presents an instance from the LA trip where she tried to get everybody to go to the aquarium as proof that she was not trying to exclude Aru from the trip, as Aru initially claimed in her document to be ghosted. However, through another content creator's investigation by the name of Rhythm Rev, we found out that Yaki conveniently leaves out that she had a scheduling conflict that day and kept switching up the meeting time. By that point, Aru was fed up by the way.
Convenient? Yeah, right. Even I can tell that's a straight up lie.
She had been treated by Yaki and did not join them for the aquarium. Additionally, Yaki admits to badmouthing Fatal, but claims it was simply venting to a friend. Both me and Aru badmouthed Fatal, and I take full responsibility for what I said. Some things weren't nice, and I've had to learn where to draw the line with that, but those were the feelings I was experiencing at that point in my life, and I felt it was okay to vent to a friend I trusted. Now, the part where she addresses her ex-roommate's Ultima allegations, but I'm seriously baffled how anyone could believe this makes them look good. She starts by stating that she did not beg Ultima to move in with her, claiming it was a win-win situation. I was not doing financially well at the time, and he wanted to help me as well as move out from his current place because we thought living with friends would help his depression. I did not beg him or strong-arm him. In an attempt to challenge the accusations made by Ultima, she vehemently denied any intent to threaten him. She emphasized that her actions were solely motivated by her role as a friend and a desire to protect her trust, but then low-key admits to it. Aru claims I threatened Ultima that if he told anyone about the abuse he experienced while living with me, we would have a problem. While I did say that there would be a problem, I meant that I would be disappointed as a friend if he broke our trust by gossiping about me. I don't know about you guys, but if somebody tells me not to talk about my experience with anyone else or we would have a problem, that does sound like a threat to me.
Yeah. If that were me, I would be going full blast. I don't care about the repercussions.
It sounds straight up from a mafia movie, actually.
But I didn't know until this day that it was Rossini all along.
Regarding Regarding Hazel and her claims, I have been trying to contact Hazel for almost an entire year since she abandoned the property we lived at. I have sent her constant emails and texts regarding this, and she has chosen to ignore them. She was not paying our mortgage payments in full, while I sent her money via Google Pay, which can be shown here. Due to respect for her privacy, I have censored her name. Yaki also refutes the claims of her alleged mistreatment of her cat, claiming it was stolen. My cat Gil was stolen on June 11th alongside many of my clothes, personal belongings, and expensive electronics. I never mistreated him or abused him, and I'm absolutely horrified that this accusation exists. There is a room in the house where Gil liked to hide, as he was a very skittish rescue cat that one of my IRL friends gave to me. I was the only one who took care of him, constantly cleaning its litter box and feeding him. When I noticed that Gil was gone, I was genuinely worried for his safety. As we've seen previously, Hazel did take the cat away as she feared for his health due to him being physically abused and often confined to a very small room. And honestly, it's hard to say who's telling the truth as we don't have much evidence from both parties. Ruby, who is Yakirisu's current roommate and a witness during the incidents involving Ultima, then jumps in to defend Yakirisu as well. However, they failed to mention at any point that they were also Yakirisu's lover, thus rendering them heavily biased towards her.
Yeah. That's something that needs to be disclosed up front. Otherwise, once people find that out, you lose your credibility.
Eventually, he reiterates everything that Yaki had previously claimed in her document about being totally unaware of Ultima's reasons of being upset with them, and felt like these issues were never clearly communicated with them, so how could they have possibly known? He writes, I truly don't believe Yaki was ever abusive or malicious to Ultima either. Ultima did move in to help Yaki pay rent after issues with her ex, and she is incredibly grateful for everything as far as I could understand. At no point, however, did Yaki get pushy and strong-arm Ultima to pay for things or was verbally abusive to him. Ruby disputed Ultima's claim of paying most of their cat's vet bills, stating that the expenses were intended to be deducted from rent due to his financial situation at the time. This was the only instance where Ultima was explicitly asked to pay for a cat-related expense. Ruby believed Ultima was being kind by paying for food and litter, as he never complained and even declined his offer to reimburse him. Regarding the 15-year house loan, Ruby makes it appear as though Ultima was in agreement and explained that he was the one who actually wasn't. That night, he broke down multiple times, expressing panic over the increased cost of rent. Ultima had several opportunities to back down or voice his concerns during this time, but he didn't. Allegedly, both Yakirisu and Ultima reassured him, promising to help cover his portions of the rent while he found a new job. He reiterates that at no point in time did Ultima say anything about being uncomfortable or upset with Yaki. Yaki even told Ruby that she was surprised he accepted so easily. Since they could not get a new mortgage under Yaki's name because she already had one, was so young and is self-employed, so they wouldn't give it to her. Bro, why do you need so many mortgages in the first place if you can barely afford one is my question. She bitched.
If I had to make a guess, probably greed. Instead of paying for everything with the house. How much do you want to bet, guys? How much do you want to bet it was mainly money for splurging? Mainly so they can flex. Let me know in the comments.
The idea to Ultima that he would hold the title and they do a different contract for rental agreements and tenancy. Ultima seemed on board with this idea and even planned to get his dad to help co-sign it. Funnily enough, even though he would be the main owner of the house and the most liable to everything financially, those Discord logs showcase that Yakirisu is actually taking the top floor and he would live in the basement. As we've seen in Yakirisu's previous statement, it seems the wall between Yaki and Ultima's room were paper thin. which would explain why Yaki dictated him to basically whisper whenever she was around to not ruin her content. Ruby goes on to explain that Ultima would get very loud and excited, and that Yaki only asked him to be quieter during 7 to 10 p.m. and after 4 a.m. when she was sleeping, but he would routinely get loud, which was causing problems, essentially shifting the blame on Ultima. Calling this abuse, he states, is an extreme reach and is a common roommate problem that we tried to fix multiple times to no avail. If somebody is trying to work and you are actively hurting their career by making something lower quality, understandably, there will be problems. Now, for the car bills that Ultima claimed Yaki asked him to pay for, even though she was the main driver of his car, Ruby claims that Yaki, for the first 2 to 4 months, would fill up the car before leaving it at the house. They would allegedly come back the next day and it would be left empty or close to empty again. Ruby claims that this was a consistent problem. It was his car. The least you could do is pay for gas if you're gonna drive it. As for the video allegations that she had Ultima edit for her, Ruby says that he helped Yaki go through the VOD and figure out all the relevant timestamps, and then had the gall to add, "We basically pulled together all of the video outside the memes, edits, and Yaki wrote the script, and the video was still delayed multiple times." Timestamping and voiceovers are not time-intensive tasks. Most YouTubers do it unless they pay their editors a lot, which I doubt she did in this case.
Yeah.
Then
no.
Ruby moves on to address Yaki's ex Johan's statement, which probably ended up being the most viral part of all of this, for all the wrong reasons, as the evidence showcased as a defense became absolute meme material for onlookers as this controversy started blowing up on Twitter. Ruby begins by acknowledging that he doesn't know much about
That's where the good, the bad, and the ugly comes in with memes. In fact, why do you think the animators for the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie were under pressure to redesign Sonic's look? Yeah, it was that bad.
Johan personally, but based on what they have heard from Yaki, Johan was reportedly abusive towards her. However, he directly refutes the claim that Yaki was abusive towards her cat and asserts that they are, in fact, extremely happy. Additionally, Ruby blames Johan for neglecting household chores and overall upkeep, contradicting her claims of being used as a housemaid by Yaki. He posts pictures of their living conditions and
Bruh.
oh god, what is this?
Sorry, I almost made myself vomit. Ugh. I bet Asmongold's house looks a lot... I bet Asmongold's play... I bet rooms in Asmongold's house are a lot cleaner than this. And the fact that during his 2-week suspension from Twitch, the fact that he was cleaning his place... yeah.
Is this the room they locked the cats in? The gay baby jail? I'm pretty sure you get dirtier taking a bath in the shower. Ruby goes on.
Ugh. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me if you get some weird disease from that. I don't know why.
To explain, the house was in a disgusting condition when he moved in, and says it took them a full 12 hours to restore it. You don't say. All in all, the Yakirisu defense document, as well as her boyfriend's, was very poorly received by the public, who didn't see much substantial evidence backing her claims. Moreover, despite Fatal not releasing an official document criticizing her, Yaki's response mentioned him more than any other individual. This prompted Fatal to publish his own response, resulting in another wave of criticism directed at Yakirisu. Fatal, known online as GamesCage, was initially okay with his friendship with Yaki fading, but her actions soon changed his mind. He realized the extent of her negativity, how she had impacted his brand and reputation, and even tarnished his character in the eyes of other creators. Enough was enough, he concluded. The root of their conflict stemmed from Yaki's belief that Fatal wasn't supportive enough when she first began streaming. This was confusing for Fatal, as Yaki had actively promoted her streams on his own, even tagging everyone in his Discord to promote her broadcast, sometimes even while he was live himself. Fatal eventually had to explain that he wasn't comfortable with her constant self-promotion in Discord and on his streams, feeling exploited and frustrated by her
Okay. Huh. I wonder if the guy's Samoan.
relentless focus of her own agenda. Despite this, Fatal continued to rate her streams and offer advice. He was baffled by her portrayal of him as someone who actively sabotaged her career. The relationship became strained as Yaki frequently gaslit Fatal, making him feel guilty for even addressing the issue. Their interaction on each other's stream became less frequent, but the situation seemed stable on the surface. However, Yaki's true nature was exposed when she spread a vicious lie to Aru, claiming Fatal had cheated on her. This fabrication, completely out of the blue, shattered Fatal's relationship with Aru and devastated his mental health. Yaki, having successfully isolated Fatal from his friends, then moved in to befriend Alpharad in his circle. Fatal, while admitting to speaking negatively about Alpharad, insists they resolve their issues. But during a trip to LA, he discovered Yaki had been spreading the same lies about him to Alpharad's entire group. This resulted in Fatal being excluded from events and Yaki constantly threatening that things would blow up if anyone saw him. She even humiliated Aru by claiming it was shameful for her to still talk to Fatal, painting Aru as a victim with no self-esteem. She went as far as to threaten Fatal's career, claiming she could, quote, ruin his connections within the industry, end quote, by telling her Sega friends to never work with him again. This was a particularly cruel blow, as Sonic is a major part of Fatal's content. Izzy and her friends...
Yeah, I can tell. Oh, from the clips I've been seeing so far. Man.
Later confirmed these lies to Fatal. A month later, Fatal learned that Yaki was also abusing and exploiting Ultima. He wasn't surprised, as they had visited him in the past and he had witnessed firsthand her manipulative and controlling behavior. She would scold Ultima like a misbehaving dog, her tone condescending and patronizing. Fatal is completely disillusioned by Yaki's action and is left with lasting scars. He concludes his document by expressing unwavering support for the victims who came forward. The subsequent two accounts I will show share similar narratives, with Yaki exploiting both for financial gain with her usual lack of minimal appreciation. Let's start with Frosty. Frosty is a fan of Yakirisu's content and became a high-tier patron on her Patreon, supporting her cosplay endeavors. My experience with Yaki has been more of a detached one compared to the others, but I will say that it has still affected me mentally and physically to the point of causing me to contemplate my position and place in life, Frosty states. Frosty highlights communication and reward delivery issues on Patreon, including unfulfilled promises and angry responses to his messages, as she claimed they were either too long or that he used the inbox like DMs. She does hard sell him on higher tiers and drops hints that her costumes cost more than expected, which Frosty immediately offers to pay the difference for. Frosty also mentions being asked to become a Discord and Twitch mod for...
And this is for someone who was a top paying Patreon member? Wow.
For Yakirisu, a request he initially accepts out of desire to help the community. As it turns out, among Yaki's Patreon perks for her patrons is the exclusive opportunity to become a moderator. Yes, you are paying her to then work for her for free. Oh, and
wow, that's no different than working as a personalist, paying thousands of $10,000s of dollars, or just working as a personal assistant for either JoJo Siwa or even Gene Simmons, which is beyond screwed up. And scummy and greedy, all at the same time.
That reminds me, I should probably feed my mods too. However, his experience as a mod was short-lived as he was removed without explanation after a single stream, and accompanied with a pretty passive-aggressive message telling him that he missed the mark on, quote, every occasion. Frosty then goes on to detail how he received his Patreon reward, which cost $400, and a low-quality selfie of Yaki in her cosplay, which arrived a few months late. After delays and complications, Frosty decided to lower his Patreon tier. Since she made one cosplay per 2 months and he had subbed for a total of 5 months, she refunded him a single month, which leaves us with 2 cosplays that she owed him. One of them she had already finished, so 1 remaining. However, Yaki failed to do her maths properly, and Frosty was irked at losing $1,000 worth of rewards. And to be fair, content creators may not be the best mappers. But what happened next is way worse. Following him reducing his Patreon tier, he immediately gets blocked from Patreon for harassment and gets subsequently ostracized from about 10 different communities and Twitch chats. After inquiring to people, he gets told that it's due to parasocial tendencies and harassment. Frosty is then certain that Yakirisu is the driving force behind this. And after all, this is a signature move from her. To gatekeep people she dislikes from all her friends group, expecting her friends to sever ties with those individuals. Frosty explains his sadness at losing these online communities where he felt comfortable and accepted. And it's messed up. Even though he might have broken some rules with her community, there's no reason for him to be ostracized from multiple communities unless he actually committed something heinous. The only thing the guy did was wanting what he paid for and being a bit too overzealous interacting with her. Nathan, a supporter of Fatal and Yaki, decided to intervene after the Yakirisu defense statement. He found Yaki's response incomplete and some information about Fatal blatantly wrong. This conflicted with his knowledge of Fatal. This set off a red flag, prompting Nathan to dig deeper into the story. What he uncovered was truly horrifying. He realized the depth of Yaki's manipulation, how he too had been a victim of her lies. He realized he was being taken advantage of financially with multiple occurrences where he was helping Yaki, thinking she was in dire financial distress. With repeated gifts of thousands of dollars, each time she claimed it would be the only time she asked for his help, only to come back again.
She ended up coming back again. Shocking.
And asking for more just a few weeks later, either for student loan issues or because of her broken car. Only he found out later through Ultima that she had just made a down payment on her brand new car and realized he was being extorted all of this time. I just want to understand why you bothered to ask me for help at all, he writes, if you had more than enough money to buy a whole new car this whole time. I sent over $3,682. When everything was all said and done, was anything that I sent even needed for all of its intended purposes? He explains that Yaki would ask for my help on something that was currently an issue for her, to which I had accepted and helped because, like I said, I'm just someone who wants to help people. In some screenshots, Yaki even has the balls to tell Nathan to send money through friends and family because PayPal had eaten $20 of her fees, and tried to convince him to get a business account to save fees. In hindsight, a business account would make sense considering he was basically a bank, except the bank would get their money back at one point. Nathan ends his document claiming it was really hard to come out with his side of the story because he cared for everyone involved, and it hurts so much seeing his trust in someone get broken so quickly. On May?
Wow. Yeah, that kind of sounds relatable. Not that I'm going through anything like this, but it's just the fact that I kind of have a similar personality to this guy. I care about my friends too much. But if there's a good reason to distance yourself, There needs to be.
31st, 2023, Tommy, a former friend of Yaki for 3 years and also her VTuber and PNG artist, has released his own statement. He created both models for free as she was struggling financially and going through a breakup at the time. Since Yaki wasn't paying for her models, she didn't think it was necessary to give him a deadline. Tommy still told her he would try his best to complete the models within 5 to 6 months and suggested she commission another artist if the process was too slow, but he didn't want her to take his timeline as a promise. Eventually, Tommy began encountering obstacles as they struggled with personal issues and an overload of commissions, making it difficult for them to complete Yaki's model. During a conversation, Yaki became upset and emphasized that Tommy had broken a promise to her. Tommy, in turn, expressed that he felt a lack of compassion from Yaki regarding his life situation. Tommy apologized for not keeping their end of the deal and felt terrible about it. Yakirisu and Tommy argued over unfinished artwork, with Yakirisu highlighting her efforts and feeling unappreciated. Tommy expressed hurt, citing his support through retweets, subscriptions, and donations. Ultimately, Tommy reiterates that he feels Yakirisu only cared about getting her model done for free. And honestly, it's a little wild to belittle someone for some free art. On top of that, he expresses his disappointment on how she received a fan art of her and Garchomp he drew for her, where she responds, "Sick art, laughing at how you forgot 99% of the design though. Jeez." We move on to Sean, an old friend of Yaki who released a hilariously titled Google document called "Sir, an 11th Google Doc has hit the Yaki Towers," who tells us all about his own personal experience with Yaki, which rings eerily familiar with everyone else's. She spread malicious rumors to large creators about him using commission money on gacha games. He first puts out a tweet thread explaining his experience with Yakirisu, and that leads him to being reacquainted with Hazel, who reveals a lot more. Yaki had been screenshotting and documenting tweets from Sean where he was quote-unquote e-begging, while he was experiencing heavy financial struggles due to him being disowned by his own family. Which is so fucking wild considering she was literally the one begging several.
Yeah, that's insane. Not just because of what she put this guy through, but also the fact the guy got disowned by his own family. Ugh. I bet that's another messy rabbit hole.
People for money at the same time and only sustained herself from their generous donations. His tweets weren't even asking for money. He was just basically tweeting that he was broke. And the worst part of it all is that she made her girlfriend maintain the Google Doc for her. Picture this, it's as if Regina George asked her boyfriend to maintain her burn book. And we only know this because her significant other leaked a copy of that Google Doc. You can't make this shit up. And it doesn't even stop here because she also made burner accounts to harass him and spread rumors that he hadn't finished a commission from 4 years ago. Man, the level of dedication and energy she used to try to ruin someone's life is astounding. So it turns out that not only was she a horrible person, but also a huge hypocrite, as she herself would spend copious amounts of money, and even money she was supposed to spend on rent, to get characters in gacha games. Finally, Alpharad.
Yeah, no surprises here whatsoever. Ugh.
Went live on stream to share his thoughts on the whole situation.
They exposed cruel and malicious behavior of Yaki, who, if you're not a stranger to the channel, you probably know that is a close friend of mine, you know, and that sucks. And at first I wanted to hear both sides, so that's why I was quiet on the beginning one. I know everyone sees this and thinks the answer is so easy to disavow someone and just shame them. And and a person I noticed a few bad habits or bad traits in, and thought it was just me because everyone else seems to be around. I don't know, man.
Naturally, people were anxiously waiting his statement as his name had been frequently mentioned throughout the controversy. After all, he was the largest creator involved. He explains how he started off as a neutral party, wanting to hear both sides and evidence before speaking out. He seems visibly upset with the whole situation, explaining that it was just too difficult to swallow and the whole friends group was having trouble processing it and grieving, expressing his disapproval and
Yeah, I don't blame this guy. Because you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Not because of how long you've known them, but sometimes it's just a lost cause at this point.
disappointment of Yaki, he then indicates that he would remove some videos featuring her as the main topic. He also talks about how he had to fire Ultima a few months back as his channel video editor because he just wasn't getting the work done in a timely manner, but now realizes with a tremendous amount of guilt the reason why this was happening. His condonement of Yakirisu kinda sealed the deal on her fate and delivered the finishing blow. The name she had used to climb the social ladder and strong-arm people with, the person she wanted to impress the most and had poured all of her hopes for a bright future in, had just turned his back on her. And on that fateful day of June 26, 2023, Yaki decided to terminate her online presence once and for all and deactivated her Twitter account as the story became trending on Twitter. The internet was taking turns effectively dunking on her, and her YouTube and Twitch accounts rapidly started losing subscribers and haven't stopped since then. They remained up, although inactive, and it remains uncertain whether Yaki intends to resume her activities one day or not. Yakirisu with her...
Yeah. I don't see it happening. Because all this stuff that's put together, it's pretty much a career-ending nuclear bomb that got dropped. There's no recovering from it whatsoever. Especially now that everybody knows what kind of person you are.
Carefully cultivated image of friendship and support used her connections to silence victim and protect her own reputation. The 11 Google Docs that came out against her and the shared experiences of so many different people across the board point that she was a much different person than the content creator she appeared to be on her broadcasts. Well, unless you could advance her career, of course. Thank you for watching, and if you're looking for more VTuber deep dives, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Subscribe to my second channel for more videos, or check out my Patreon for even more exclusive content. And I'll see you in the next one. In her tireless pursuit of internet stardom, how do I pronounce that?
Tirelessly.
In her tireless pursuit of internet stardom, she explained that Yakirisu had been physically abusive to Jill. Is it Gil or Jill?
Gil.
Gil? And ended up leaving. Things took turns. My brain is melting. Things took a turn.
I'm probably just gonna end it here because of the whole thing with the bloopers, and not to mention how long this video's been running. So, yeah. Yikes. Holy crap. Wow. I'm almost scared to see what was exposed on Cinder in the documentary after this. Okay, as of this point, I'm probably not gonna make any more videos for this week. Mainly because I need a detox after this. But don't worry. I'll see what I can do to come back on Wednesday for a live stream. Anyways, that's it for me. I feel emotionally exhausted now. If you liked today's video, please leave a like, drop a comment down below. Also, please feel free to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to get notified on when I post new videos or when I go live. I'm not sure when I'll be back on YouTube for live streams. Hopefully, somehow I can figure that out someday. So, until next time, see ya.